There he is. Chrissy V, everybody. Welcome to the show. Fantasy Empire. With Chris Vaccaro and his rundown. And I'm just here to facilitate it. Boom.
I love our intro. Love our intro, don't you?
Yeah. Why don't you shout out the guy who made it for you?
Matt Kelly. Excellent job.
I don't think Matt made it.
Keep
guessing.
Are we talking Jay-Z? Biggie Smalls?
Chris doesn't know any of the names of the people who help us out with the show.
Listen.
Anyway, we got a great show today. Chris texted me 17 words.
As opposed to the other ones, Nando, that aren't a great show.
Every show's a great show.
We have a great show today, but last week sucked. So we're trying.
Last week was one of our best.
Actually, you say that every time the show's over. I think that was one of our best shows.
Yeah, you should constantly be improving.
You're right, and we're gonna bring the goods today, Nando. So, how was your week 7, buddy?
Like your background, constantly improving. The walls get beigeur every week.
Yeah. Okay. You're so observant.
Everything was great. Actually, I had one of those weeks where it was like, oh, I've loved Deontay Foreman forever, and I love Daryl Henderson forever.
Well, we made it a minute and a half into the show.
You asked.
Made it a minute into the show. I was gonna save it, but let's just get right to it.
I didn't want to bring them up.
Appreciation Day here on the Fantasy Empire. We have to give Nando his roses. Let him feel all loved and appreciated. That D'Onta Foreman's been his guy now for 6 years, and he comes off of a monstrous week. And I got to be honest, Nando, I picked your boy up in the last week or two when Khalil Herbert went down and stashed him. Some weeks, some leagues, I had to pay up even more last week. But, man, those 33 points felt pretty damn good in my lineup in some big leagues this past week. So I thought about you all Sunday, and
you do that anyway.
D'Onta Foreman Appreciation Day.
Well, here's the thing. I can be realistic about this. I mean, he does this every year. So, okay, fine, whatever. Gets counted out, practice squad, whatever, inactive. But when Justin Fields comes back, you have to imagine those 18 carries a game are going to turn to maybe 13, maybe.
So you think that his usage is going to be based on Justin Fields and maybe not Roschon Johnson coming back healthy?
I think, yeah.
Which is very weird, by the way, while we're on the topic. How crazy was that? Because, we get the D'Onta Foreman week 6 game. It wasn't anything spectacular, right? And he's sharing the backfield with Darrington Evans that week. So you're kind of optimistic going into this week about what you're going to get versus the Raiders. But, with 6 teams on bye and the running back landscape the way it is, D'Onta Foreman looked like, all right, hey, he's got to find our way into our lineups, right, as a top 24 running back, or at least a flex play. Right. So we stick him out there, and he produces this number. And, going into this past week, Roschon Johnson is 2 weeks removed from a concussion. So it wasn't until Friday when they ruled out Roschon Johnson that we started feeling good about playing D'Onta Foreman on Sunday, correct?
I feel good about playing him every week, Chris.
Oh, my God.
Chrissy.
Okay. All right. Listen.
I know. You're right. I'm messing with you. Yeah, you're right.
No. All right. Well, let me ask you this much, Nando. D'Onta Foreman, he puts up these crazy numbers, right? 16 carries, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, and 31 yards, chips in for another touchdown. You know how many snaps he played out of 71?
35.
Yeah, 33.
All right.
33 out of 71 snaps. Now, granted, he gets nicked up in the second half. He misses a series of 2. But it's not like he's out there 65 out of 71 snaps. He's not an 85% bell cow. But, let's put that aside. He, like I said, he gets nicked up. Going into this now, week 8 versus the Chargers on the road. Let's see what happens with Roschon. If Roschon comes back healthy midweek and starts practicing, you have to expect him to get at least 30-40% of the workload. But Foreman has carved out a lead back role, in my opinion, going forward based off of what he just did in week 7.
Are you worried Justin Fields Justin Fields is going to mess us up, basically?
Who knows how much longer Justin Fields is going to be out for, but just say he's out another couple games. Yeah, listen, Justin Fields is going to come back. He's going to run 8 to 10 times a game. But if Foreman comes out this week versus the Chargers, gets 15, 17 carries, okay, and gives us 70, 80 rushing yards as the lead back again, going forward, he's an RB2. Even with Justin Fields back, I can't start benching Donta Foreman because Justin Fields comes back, So, he does get a little bit of a hit when he does come back, but not that much.
Chris and I had lunch this week.
That was lovely.
And the place had this great smoky. It was the Adams Tavern in Westfield, New Jersey, and the place had this great smoky. It was like the fireplace almost had backed up.
Yes.
And today I put on the same sweatshirt that I wore. And I was walking, I'm like, why does it smell like a campfire? And it's because, oh, yeah, right. I probably should. I didn't realize it absorbed so much of the smell.
I wish I could get my bar to smell like that bar because I just loved that smoky feel. They had the real wood fire going in the middle of the place.
You got a fireplace?
Yeah, but it's not real wood, though. It's
converted.
Maybe I should. But if I could get it to smell like that, I love it, that smoky feel in October, November when you go outside. But this was inside. So great place. It's nice catching up with my boy. Had some old fashions, had some good food, and it was a good time. But
Chris is going to rent a place in Hoboken. We've decided.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, let's get moving.
Yeah, seriously.
Our fab. I know you get mad because after the show, you're like, only 2 people understood that joke, me and you. And so you wasted 5 minutes of the show.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm going to say.
We could have been talking about Emari Demarcado.
Yeah, people are like, what's this wacko talking about? But nobody understands it. But anyway, yeah, let's talk some actual fantasy football here. Let's get back on track here. After Donta Foreman last week. Well, it's funny, Nando. We could take it from Donta Foreman last week, who was like the second biggest free agent waiver wire ad that a lot of people spent money on. But who was the first guy? Demarcado of Arizona. And guess how that worked out 2 weeks
pretty
ago.
Well, if you held on to him.
Well, nobody played him. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody played him going into this week after the debacle in week 6. Okay, everybody spent in my leagues, in the high stakes leagues. Demarcado went from anywhere from $350 to up to $650. Okay, so 35 to 65% of your budget was blown on Demarcado, expecting him once Connor went down to be the lead back. Pretty much give you the numbers, the snap percentages, and all the stats that he gave in week 7 when everybody gave up on him and actually dropped him. Okay, that he didn't in week 6. So nobody can understand that one. Nobody can make sense of the Arizona backfield from week 6 to 7, what happened with Keaton Ingram being the lead back and Damian Williams factoring in. And then in the next week, the 2 of them playing pretty much absolutely no role, where Ingram got 0 snaps.
Yeah.
Damian Williams got 1 carry. Demarcado got everything. So you have to expect now, going into this upcoming week here, are we going back in on Demarcado as an RB2? Are we picking him up for big amounts again?
Is he your number one? Is he your number one waiver wire priority?
Yes. At the running back position.
Angry drops of Demarcado all over the place. So
that's exactly what it was. It was angry drops. And let's talk about should
you not drop Zach Evans this week?
Zach Evans is a drop.
All right.
Zach Evans is a drop. It's back-to-back weeks where people blew 35% plus more on Fab budget. And Evans, people spent even more money on this past week going into Fab. And then we talked about it last week on last week's show, Nando. The mind of a fantasy player nowadays is you get to the middle of the year and we're all desperate for running back help. And we live in the moment and we live in who's the top big free agent Fab running back tonight, right? And it was Zach Evans across the board going into week 7, the same way it was Demarcado going into week 6, right? So without any hesitation, people are like, I need help at running back. He's the number 1 pickup, ad. I got to get him at all costs. I know that everybody's talking. It's going to be $250 to $350. Well, I'm going to make sure I get him. I'm going to bid $450 on Demarcado, $500 on Evans. And I'm going to be able to get that guy off the wire, plug him in my RB2 spot, maybe even RB1 if we're so that desperate. And he's going to give us 15, 20 points. And I'm going to get through my week, okay, save my team at the running back position and advance to the next week where maybe I get a healthy running back or another guy pops that's on my bench. And we live in the moment and we got burnt 2 weeks. And that's from the average rookie player that took him off waivers to some of the best players I know that spent $400, $500, $600 on him and said Zach Evans is going to be the guy and put him in. I don't know. You'll have to ask Glenn, who you're obsessed with. So,
well, you said some of the best players I know.
Everybody, you name them. You can name some of the best players in the high stakes world. They all
Mark
went in on Zach. Mark. I hope he's
Frank
insulted.
Mamela.
I hope they're all insulted that you call them all the wrong names. But anyway, listen, Zach Evans is going to be dropped everywhere tonight.
I know, but it's not the same as Demarcado, right? I mean, like, there hasn't been that week. Like right now, Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could kind of consider him the same as Damian Williams, really. Like, a couple guys signed who, jump in and do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, Chris. We talked about last week. Like, you can just those were 2 weird backup situations, right? Like, you can stack your bench with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like those kinds of guys who are kind of like more direct line backups. Like Kareem Hunt's a bad example because he's probably already taken a lot of leagues, but maybe Pierre Strong is the guy you want to go.
That's the guy I wanted to bring up, Nando. That's the guy I was also. You said you asked me who the top pickup this week is at the running back position, and it's going to be Demarcado again after all the touches and snaps he got. But Pierre Strong really needs to be considered as well, and I think he's going to go for a significant amount, and he would be my second option. And I'm not so sure that if I'm one of those players that needs to just survive these next couple weeks, maybe get some healthy running backs. I'm looking at all my teams going into Fab this week, and I'm like, if I could just survive, week 8 looks great. Let's back up and say week 8, there's no teams on bye. Luckily, it's like
that's crazy, right?
It's like it's all messed up, but it's such a nice reprieve as I'm setting all my lineups, going through all my teams that I don't have to look down and go, all right, I have to replace my RB2 and my wide receiver 1 and 3 this week. It's just nice to look at your team, and besides the injury issues, you have a full team, a full roster to use, right? So there's not I got to drop my kicker and I got to pick up a defense. And last week was so annoying with Fab, and I put so much time and energy, as I'm sure many fantasy players did, because you just were trying to put a lineup in that was competitive and deal with the injuries and drop this guy that's on a bye week and everything. But you get a nice reprieve here in week 8 with no buys and your full roster. But then you look up, and in weeks 9 and 10, you have the best fantasy teams and rosters and players pretty much that are going to be on bye. In week 9, the Detroit Lions, the 49ers, and the Jaguars. Okay, there's fantasy players all over the board on those 3 teams that we have rostered. As well as, and the Broncos are the 4th team, but, other than Judy Sutton, Javonte Williams, maybe, and then in week 10, right after that, it's the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Eagles, the 3 best fantasy teams are all on a bye in week 10, and the Rams who, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. So in these next 2 weeks after week 8, we're going to be dealt with the same thing. So let's enjoy this week 8 here. And you know, we don't have to go too crazy with our lineups. We have basically everything at our, you know, in our hand for our teams this week.
What, I don't want to take us off track, but I do.
Yeah.
Puka had another great game, right? Like after 7 weeks and Cooper Kupp coming back, like he's not going anywhere, right? This is like a legitimate out of nowhere. Holy crap!
No.
What's his trade value? Is it? I know you hate talking about like specific guys, but I just want to know, like, are you treating him if you want to get, if you're hurting at wide receiver, if you want to get him, are you treating him like he's going to be having like maybe 4 or 5 more 100-yard games this season?
Yeah.
Are you treating him like you picked him up off the waiver wire? You know, you should have, like you have to pay up for him. Right?
I'm treating him as if I drafted him in round 3, round 2, round 3. Like that's what Puka is now. Like he's a legit star, and he's an absolute stud. I'd even say, I want to say he's a solid wide receiver too, but he might be a back end wide receiver 1. He might be top 12. He might be.
What else does he have to do, right?
Range. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, Cooper Kupp, I thought would affect him this much, but after seeing what we saw this past week, it's not going to affect him. This offense can support 2 major stars, and you have to treat them as if we would look at like a Jamar Chase and T. Higgins last year, or, you know, like these monster 1-2 combinations. There's not really anybody else in that offense factoring in, you know. There's no, you know, Higbee's basically getting phased out at the tight end position. Tutu Atwell gets a little sniff, but other than that, it's just all, you know, I think they get 70%. I think the number was like over 70% of the target share multiple weeks in a row. That's what it's going to be going forward. So yeah, for sure. But just to back up real quick.
Hold on, wait, hold on. We got to play our ad. We've already gone 6 minutes over.
Sorry.
Let me get the sound effect, and then I'll get the ad. And then I'd like to talk about rookie wide receivers with you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
That's your tease. Here's your sound effect. I didn't expect it to sound like that. All right.
It has been 2 years since Josh Larkey paved the way for fantasy gamers to start expecting positive returns from Pickem games, specifically Underdog Pickems. And how do you do it? Well, you look at the slate and you find a great shootout or a sneaky shootout. You also look for a shit show game. 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in one game. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. And you could 100x your payout on Underdog. Think about week 1. Jets-Bills was a shit show. Did we see the Aaron Rodgers injury coming? No, but we knew the Jets have a good defense. We knew the Bills have a good defense. Why not expect the worst? And the worst is what we got. So if you had gone Dalvin Cook less than, Garrett Wilson less than, Aaron Rodgers less than, Josh Allen less than, Gabriel Davis less than, boom, 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 you can go 6 for 6. Same thing in week 2. Oh, week 2. Oh, sneaky shootout there in Philadelphia. Minnesota's going to be in comeback mode, so we'll go Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, more than, Madison, less than, but also Swift, more than. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it with the Underdog Pickems, and you use promo code Underworld to get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, Underdog matches that deposit up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Go start picking.
DJ Chrissy V.
Yeah. There we go, Nando.
Nando
gets to play with all the little functions there. Nando, listen, before we go into rookie wide receivers, I know I got off track like I usually do with the point on Pierre Strong and Demarcado. And I just want to say this is the reasoning, and hear me out. Okay. I told you about the bye weeks that are coming up for 9 and 10 and all those running backs. Okay. Now, if you're also a Montgomery owner, a Kyron Williams owner, James Conner, you just lost Jerome Ford, as well as all those monster teams that all have good running backs that you're going to be needing to replace in 9 and 10. That's why I'm going to be aggressive with a Demarcado, Pierre Strong right here for the guys that I can plug in for these next 1, 2, maybe 3 weeks here. If I own all those running backs that are hurt this week or are on those bye weeks that I'm going to replace in 9 and 10. Okay. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Let me get myself to week 10 or 11 when I'm getting healthy running backs back at that point or after the bye. But if you're going to present me guys that I can that could get me through these next 2 weeks, like a Pierre Strong, okay, with Jerome Ford out, or Demarcado, okay, while Connor's still going to be out another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Give me these guys. Let me plug them in as solid RB2s for the next 2 weeks and then get healthy with my studs from week 10 on and go from there. So it's kind of like a plug-in, like a substitution system that I'm playing it as. Not as guys that I don't think Pierre Strong's going to carry me to a league championship in weeks 15, 16, 17. I'm trying to play the 2-week game here.
Are we over Keaton Mitchell now?
You know what? It's crazy, Nando. Keaton Mitchell, he gets the carry in that game, okay?
Yeah.
And he looks good. Turns the corner. He looks unbelievable. And he gets hurt. And now I think he's going to miss multiple weeks. But I was like, oh, they finally put him on the field to give him a couple carries to see what's going on. I don't want to blame Justice Hill for, like Lamar Jackson put the ball in his chest. One of those, who do you blame, the quarterback or the running back for the fumble? So I thought maybe Justice Hill was going to get phased out a little bit, and maybe that's why Keaton Mitchell got the carries, just to maybe come into the lineup a little bit and phase Justice Hill out. But it was Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, again, pretty much a 50-50 split. Even though Gus Edwards had the huge numbers and the big game, they still played pretty much 50-50, the two of them. So for me going forward, I would treat Gus Edwards as a low-end RB2. Justice Hill, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. He'd be a desperation RB3.
Yeah, that's a
Keaton
shame.
Mitchell, you're going to see getting dropped, though. To answer your question, I think
Yeah.
Keaton Mitchell now with this injury, people are going to say, all right, we gave it a shot. We tried to see if there was something there. It didn't work out, and we're throwing in the towel on him. So, yeah, he'll be widely dropped tonight. That Ravens offense, though, Nando, while we're on the Ravens, God, I loved it. We talked about last week how I don't know if there was Lamar Jackson was real close, I felt, for this offense to blow up and really take off. And if you watch that Ravens game, which I know you did, buddy,
Start to finish.
They were clicking on all cylinders right from the jump, man. There were guys running open everywhere. While they were struggling, it's crazy to say, but, while Bateman and Beckham were hurt and out for those weeks, maybe they just couldn't have everything. I'm not saying those guys are going to be factors, but it just gives the defense more weapons to concentrate on. And Zay Flowers is running wide open down the field. And, you go from an offense where there's only 2 guys to worry about to 4 or 5 now with Bateman and Beckham out there. I really got high hopes now for this Ravens offense going forward.
Let me ask you this: Bateman has bombed.
I have no hope for Bateman.
Yeah, okay. I just want to clear that up.
No.
Lamar Jackson
I'm talking
up for everybody else.
This is a Lamar, Andrews, Zay Flowers, and maybe even Beckham as a desperation flex play.
Yes.
Yeah, he played a good amount of
desperation flex plays.
Desperation.
Show me some more of that.
He played the clear. You're creepy. He played a clear.
Some more of that giant wall behind you.
He played a clear wide receiver 2 role. Snap wise, it was like everyone else was Aguilar and Bateman were distant 3 and 4, but Beckham looks like he'll be the clear 2. And if he's going to play about 65% of the snaps out there, maybe he could give us 4 for 50 every week and maybe get in the end zone. So it was just nice to see. I think that offense, they got through September. It's tough when you bring in a new coach in the off season. You get off to some slow starts. I think maybe it's starting to click a little bit.
Yeah. Todd Monken. Who knew?
No, I mean, we shitted on him last week. So now
you did. Yeah. And I said, take it easy on the guy.
His play calling in London, that London game was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. But he must have heard the chatter. Maybe he watches Fantasy Empire. He heard the complaints, Nando, and he opened it up and he put the ball in Lamar's hands like he should have versus the Lions defense that's good against the run, and Lamar ripped him apart. So, let's see if he sticks to that in Arizona this week. Another good matchup for this Baltimore offense, and let's hope they go, as the kids like to say, ham. Let's
You know, I think they're all actually adults now who used to say that.
Yeah, that's
you know, it was a weird team to me, and I'm just getting us off fantasy for a second.
no, that's it. We could talk about any team. Let's do it.
Like Dallas.
Oh, you pick a team that comes off of a bye. That's your weird team. That's such a Nando. It wasn't even like we just saw them. Go ahead.
Well, no, so you know it was like we're changing up the format for the way we do the betting column this week, and so I'm like, all right, let me do it. So like, you know, we're not like a freelancer like sending it back to him over and over again and being like, change this. I'm like, I can change the stuff. I'm right here. So we're doing this new format where we're pulling stuff from like True Media and StatMuse and stuff. And StatMuse has this cool thing where you can see like how a team does against the spread in the game log in like a straight line, and how they do against the over under, and like how far of a differential they are from the spread. And I think the Cowboys, man, I'm almost positive it's the Cowboys. I wrote it today. I should remember this.
You just talked for 2 minutes about all that, and then you said, I think maybe it's the
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
It's probably the team.
So
I think it's Cowboys. They've been so far off the spread for every game that it's like they only had one game.
That makes sense. I'll give you that much.
Points. It was like plus 36, minus 23. Like it's been like this crazy differential. They've been all over the place.
You're probably right, because if you remember the first week of the season, they blow the Giants out 40-3. Then they blow the Jets out at home. They get blown out by San Francisco.
Yeah.
But you know, the last time we saw them, they played a tight game, which was a tight spread. Versus the Chargers. So, what do I expect?
Garbage, huh?
Chargers struggle.
Justin Herbert, Quentin Johnson. What happened? Your rookie wide receivers, Quentin Johnson, man.
Quentin Johnston was a complete no touch for me.
Well,
I don't own one share of Quentin Johnston. He was the one rookie receiver that I hated and wouldn't draft. So, that's luckily working out. But the fact that they took Quentin Johnston, the Chargers, over Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison might go down as one of the worst draft decisions ever. All right, maybe that's getting a little ahead of ourselves, but imagine if Justin Herbert had Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison right now instead of Quentin Johnston.
Imagine if Justin Herbert was just good on his own. That would be pretty good.
Oh, here we go. All right.
Look, hey, what do
I know you said it last week, and I gave you some heat, but
you did.
You will be wrong for that. Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback, and he's just getting used to life without Mike Williams, but he'll be just fine. But listen, you talked about Dallas. Dallas comes off the bye now. Here's what I expect from Dallas.
Yeah.
The same thing we finally got to see versus the Chargers 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Football. Them establishing CD Lamb as an elite wide receiver 1 and peppering him with targets. Okay. Tony Pollard needs to start stepping up now off the bye. He didn't look like the Tony Pollard we saw last year. Hopefully the bye week, recharges batteries a little bit. The offense goes through Lamb and Pollard. Their schedule opens up a little bit now. I expect this Dallas team to be, if you're a Lamb and Pollard owner, you weren't thrilled about, and you didn't get your money's worth on either of them the first 6 weeks of the season. I think now you start to see it afterwards, because the offense, honestly, they just have complementary guys after that. Gallup and Cooks, you could flip your coin every week. Who's going to be that number 2 wide receiver? The two of them are like 4 for 50 guys each. And the kid Ferguson, he can maybe give you something at the tight end position as a low end tight end 1 some weeks. But other than that, it's Lamb and Pollard and go to sleep.
I appreciate how you write CD Lamb's name is the letter C and the letter D every week in your column. One of these weeks is going to slip through. Yeah.
Yes. I do it. I do things to try and keep you, on your toes.
I'm sure that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
You want to talk about rookie, right? Like you have this in your rundown. Stick to the rundown, LOL, all in caps. And I'm trying to, and you keep talking about people who aren't rookie wide receivers. Like I brought up like 4 rookie wide receivers for you.
Who did I talk about that wasn't a rookie wide receiver?
I'm just saying. You bring up Quentin Johnston, but let me talk about CeeDee Lamb for 45 minutes.
You brought up the Cowboys, and we didn't talk about it, so I wanted to touch on Johnston.
It. And then I came back to Quentin Johnston for you.
All right.
Are you done? I got that out of the system?
Listen, we're just starting to see the emergence now of some of these, the rookie wide receiver class early on in the season didn't look like it was going to amount to much. But now we're starting to see Zay Flowers looks like an elite wide receiver. I want to hope that he's a wide receiver 2 for your fantasy team going forward. I think Jordan Addison now with Justin Jefferson is locked in as an elite wide receiver too, a solid top 24 wide receiver. Okay. We just saw the emergence of Jaxon Smith-Njigba finally in week 7.
Because
Okay.
Metcalf got hurt.
Well, Metcalf was out, but you know what? Everybody expected Tyler Lockett to be like the lead guy and JSN just to slip in and be the 2. JSN got the most targets. Okay. And who knows? We might not see Metcalf again. You know, a hip injury isn't anything to sneeze at. So maybe he misses another game. And Jaxon Smith-Njigba looked unbelievable. We know the talent he has, right? So I think based on his last game this past week, I think he's earned himself. And he was already playing 80% of the snaps, even when DK and Lockett were in the lineup in week 6.
Right, but he's the third option.
He's the third option. But what I'm saying is, going forward, maybe Lockett isn't going to be the second option when DK is healthy. Maybe they're starting. You got to remember, he gets hurt at the end of preseason, right? He's got a cast on his arm. Everybody expects him to miss the first 4 weeks of the season, but he's right there ready to go. But he's not fully healthy. So he's playing hurt the first couple of weeks. They probably don't want to pepper him with targets. They didn't give him a lot of, the snaps were down and everything as he gets, accustomed to the NFL, everything. And now you see him ramping up. He comes out of the bye. He's got the high percentage. Now DK is out. He plays another, big role, catches the touchdown, looks great doing it. Maybe right now going into this week, even if DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are both active, well, Lockett will be active, but I'm saying even if DK is active,
yeah,
I'm still flexing JSN. And if you want to use him as a top 36 wide receiver 3, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. So JSN, and then we can't forget about Josh Downs in Indianapolis.
Oh, wait, I gotta follow up on JSN.
Go ahead.
When's the last time you signed a cast?
Probably when I was in grade school.
Yeah, it's been a while, right?
Yeah, nobody does that anymore, right?
I guess we don't know people who break their arms that often.
And then getting a hard cast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, usually it would be a hard cast and then it would be like a child. So would you really be, I don't know.
Well, if a child came up to me and said, sign my cast, and said, sure, man, here you go.
But that would be my point. Like, would a child really be coming up to you and being like, hey, I heard are you Nando De Fino, the great Nando De Fino?
That's right. That's me.
Like,
why do you smell like smoke?
Yes, kid. I am Nando De Fino. And then you would sign this cast, Donta Foreman.
I might.
That's how you would
Can
do
we
it.
please talk about Josh Downs? He's was Zach Kiefer, James Boyd, our Colts
Another
writer,
one.
wrote about him in the season. Like he was like, hey, Richardson. It was a Richardson thing. It was like Richardson really likes him. I mean, Richardson's out, but I mean, like, he's still a part of the offense, I suppose.
No, he's the clear 2 now to me in this offense, and it's an offense that it worked out perfectly, right? Anthony Richardson is out. Gardner Minshew is a gunslinger, right? So there's going to be more pass attempts every game. There's no tight end to really speak of. The kid Pierce is,
he's Rashad
de facto too. Yeah. I want to say, like, people want to look at him as the number 2, but after these last couple of weeks, he's the number 3. Okay. And the kid Downs is popping. And the kid, I loved him at Carolina, in North Carolina. And if you remember in August when we were doing the show, I was saying, listen, he's the guy that you throw $1 on at the end of your auction, or take a shot on him in the last couple rounds of your draft, stash him and wait. And here we are. And another rookie wide receiver that's got a big second half ahead of him.
I don't think anyone remembers you saying that.
Okay. Well,
we could ask Tyler, our producer. All right, well, yeah, we will.
Check the tape. Shout out to Tyler. He's doing a great job behind the scenes. Carrying all your changes to the show and everything you do. You're a real pain in the ass, just so that's everybody knows.
I'm a bit of a diva. So yeah.
You are a diva. You want to make the people believe that I'm the diva of the show, but the truth of the matter is I just show up. I'm a lunch pail type of guy. I'm for the people. I show up, I do my job. You're behind the scenes causing chaos.
Can we stick to this, please?
I don't like that thumbnail. I don't want this topic. I don't want to do this. It's like, come on, Nando. Just be a team player here. Let's get back to fantasy. You're taking us off the map.
Second round wide receiver letdowns.
Oh,
We're not going to be able to get to all your stuff. I still want to get into tight holiday weekend.
Well, you're talking about signing kids' casts and stuff like that. So there's a reason why the people aren't getting every topic that we wanted to hit on. But yeah, look, think
you went
about
way
this,
more in
Nando.
depth an answer than I thought you would.
No, well, because I have to play into your BS every now and then, Nando. Okay. But listen, let's talk about second round wide receivers this year, which was the rave on draft day, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's fantasy plan this year was to start off your draft in the first round with a monster wide receiver 1, right? Come right back and get your other elite wide receiver out of that whole group of second round wide receivers that people could make a case for that they belonged as like an elite wide receiver 1 as well. Okay. Because all the rave was 0 RB and getting 2 monster receivers to start. But when you look at the second round going back now, Davante Adams, I'm going to classify in this as a second round wide receiver. He was going for the most part between picks 12 and 16, right? I don't have any concerns about Davante Adams, Nando. I really don't. So because 3 weeks ago on this show, I was talking about he should have been classified as an elite wide receiver 1 that was going in the top 10. And now what happened since then? 3 really bad games stat-wise.
Josh McDaniels a problem there?
No. Josh McDaniels is the problem. Yeah, he's a terrible coach, but that has nothing to do with Davante Adams. Right now, Davante Adams was a stud for the first 4 games of the year. It's just weird how in the last 3 games, he gave 7 for 57 this past week. It was all in the first half. I don't even think he caught a ball in the second half. But, so Davante Adams is coming off 3 games of really not helping your team and hurting it. And he was drafted in the second round, right? Jalen Waddle, it's week 7 now. We're still waiting for the crazy blow-up games. He struggled all through September. He gave 6 for 63 this past week. 12 points just isn't getting it done. I could go to round 8 and get 12 fantasy points from a wide receiver, okay? Yeah. So Jalen Waddle was a top 16 overall pick. He's by far a distant wide receiver 2 to a Tyreek Hill who was drafted in the first round. Devonta Smith for the Eagles. Again, this is 4 weeks in a row now of, underwhelming play. He goes 4 for 49 in a great spot. Okay. He's been a bad pick so far outside of the first 2 weeks of the season. He's playing a distant wide receiver 2 as well to AJ Brown, who is a stud wide receiver 1 pick. T Higgins, end of round 2. He's been a disaster this whole season. Chris Olave, who we all loved in middle of round 2. We thought he should maybe, you're getting a receiver. It's going to catch over 100 balls. He should maybe be in round 1. He's coming up short week after week now. I blame that on Derek Carr more than even Olave, to be honest with you, Nando, because Derek Carr is an absolute disaster. But he gives a 7 for 57 again this week. And then
but that
Calvin
was how
Ridley.
Many targets?
15 targets. He did get 15 targets, but you know what? When you have a shit quarterback, it affects you. And maybe we should have looked at that this year. I liked it. That's the way I draft is I like to try and stay away from big receivers in the first couple rounds that have a shitty quarterback.
Yeah.
I'd rather take a second-rate wide receiver with an elite quarterback, knowing that quarterback's going to get him the ball and everything. But it's been a disaster for the whole second round of wide receivers. None of these guys are helping your team win. The best pick out of all these was after all these guys went off the board in Keenan Allen. So those are the teams that I see that are the most successful because pretty much everyone in the first round was a hit. Okay. Even like if you drafted McCaffrey, but Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase has had a nice bounce back after the slow start. Unfortunately, Justin Jefferson, but he was obviously a huge hit. All those receivers in the first round, if you built off of that, you didn't go wrong in the first round. Okay.
Right.
And if you came back, you most likely hit on one of these receivers. So everyone's like even after 2 rounds. Everyone's dealing with a struggling second round wide receiver and a stud first round wide receiver. It's who got the Keenan Allens in the third round? Who got the Travis Etiennes? Who got, DJ Moore? It's those combinations that you're seeing that are having the most success in my eyes. And let's not forget Travis Kelce
Well, I was going to ask you where did Kelsey
yeah.
go when you're in the by the thing? By the time Dustin settled.
It depends, Nando, on like that injury broke with Kelsey, and Kelsey fell in the last like 3 days of drafts.
Yeah.
So the Thursday night game he sat out. That I knew from what I remember, I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday that hit a couple days before. And at that moment, straight through the weekend, Travis Kelce became a mid to late round second round pick.
Imagine
Sometimes he even fell to the third. And that's what's going to wind up winning fantasy, I think, this year, is when you look and you see the guys that were able to put a Travis Kelce, who was a top 7 overall pick up until those last 4 or 5 days when that injury hit. Now they get him, and they could have paired him with all those stud receivers that we just mentioned. But
I want to put a guy, Jahan Dotson. I know he wasn't a second round wide receiver, but he's I mean, like a lot of people who I respect and like, and whose work like smart,
just call them out. Yeah, just.
I don't remember who they are. I just remember reading.
Yeah, no, you just so then
Jahan Dotson. Jake was one of them. Jake loved Jahan Dotson.
Oh wow, you just threw your boy Jake under the bus, man.
Yeah, but Jake was right about a lot of other things too. I mean, you get one of these once in a while, but I mean, it's like it's strange, like how like Bieniemy's is a great offensive mind, and Ron Rivera did not give Sam Howell the greatest vote of confidence this week.
Yeah, worried about him going.
I don't know what the future holds, right? Like, that's not a good. It's not a good.
There's a lot of quarterbacks this Sunday, Nando, that I think are going to be on real short leashes. We talked about Derek Carr. If he comes out and he struggles in the first quarter, you're going to see Winston. I think this week. I think you're going to see if Sam Howell struggles.
You'll see a lot of Taysom Hill. Maybe this is a Taysom Hill week.
That offense. Watching that game last Thursday, and it seems so long ago, Nando, but what an absolutely crazy game. I never saw a worse 31 for 20. Never saw a worse 31 to 24 game for fantasy. And the fact that Alvin Kamara and that Saints offense is just, it's like they only have one play in the playbook. And Carr is so bad that he just drops back and he just dumps it down to Kamara. And to have a running back get 14 targets out of the backfield and what did he get? 12 catches for 91 yards and like 29 fantasy points. Alvin Kamara, because of the suspension, was going in the 8th round of high stakes drafts. Yeah. And that's a league winning pick. He's an elite RB1 going forward. He's a top 10 RB1, and you got him in the 8th round. And if you were smart enough to draft him and wait and stash him, that's another league winning pick going forward. But that offense is absolute garbage. You can't even play Carr because of all the times that they get inside the 5, and those times that you get inside the 5, Carr will come off the field and Taysom Hill will run it in. Like, you just can't trust that offense. It's absolute trash. And we should have seen this more with the Olave pick. I think Olave didn't deserve to be a 2nd round pick, in my opinion.
There was Michael Thomas kind of on the outskirts of what's going to happen with Michael Thomas too. I guess there was some
I was high on Michael Thomas. He's on a lot of my teams, Nando, Michael Thomas, and he hasn't been bad. He's just what Michael Thomas is. He's just a safe 12 or 13 point PPR wide receiver 3 or hopefully flex player each week in your lineup. That's pretty much what Michael Thomas is.
You wanted to talk about tight holiday weekend.
Tight holiday weekend. Well,
I don't know what it means.
You butchered that, but if you didn't know, this past Sunday was National Tight End Day, the holiday.
This is what you wrote. You wrote tight holiday weekend.
Well, anybody with a football mind would know what the hell I meant by let's talk about tight end Sunday, tight end holiday.
Not
Sunday
really. There's
day.
the Halloween is coming up, so I thought like this was gonna be a tight.
Holiday I wanted to talk about your Halloween. Yeah, I wanted to talk about your Halloween and what you were getting dressed up as this week. But wow, Halloween is like this week, huh? Like in another week.
Yeah,
next week. That's crazy. So this past Sunday, if you didn't know, which obviously you didn't, was National Tight End Day, which was the holiday that every week, every year, there's one
much
Sunday.
Easier. Tight holiday weekend. I can see if I can make a T-shirt for you.
Every year, there's a week that George Kittle designates as tight end holiday, and it was this past Sunday. And then judging by the absolute smash games by all these tight ends, it's like the quarterbacks knew to get their tight ends the ball this past Sunday. Starting with who we just talked about, Travis Kelce, 12 for 180 and a touchdown with his girlfriend in the stands. Okay. Absolute smash. It's crazy that year after year, I'll say me and a lot of other players, we say we're jumping off the bus. What do we say? What's the saying? If you're not there for the wedding, don't be there for the funeral. Do you know that saying, Nando?
No, I don't think I'm sorry. I'm writing down
Never heard that one?
weekend in my calendar.
Well, it's different every year, I believe. I don't think it's just.
I like that. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, no, that is a saying. You obviously just don't know it, but
I'll find
So I've been off on Kelce for years now, and this year was no different. I wasn't touching him in the first round. I don't like to build off my tight ends, and again, I'm going to get buried by Travis Kelce this year because this is what happens when you fade a guy like Kelce. He's 34 years old, and he's giving you 12 for 180 and a touchdown games out of a tight end position that sucks. But it was nice to see a lot of the tight ends show up on the holiday. TJ Hawkinson, 11 for 86 on 12 targets. Smash game. TJ Hawkinson's locked in as a top 3 elite tight end going forward. Dallas Goedert's had a nice bunch of weeks now after a really slow start, but he's getting his season going again. 5 for 77 and a touchdown. All the big tight ends, showed up. Mark Andrews, 4 for 63 and 2 touchdowns. Darren Waller, here we go. We're getting going here. Darren Waller, 7 for 98 and a touchdown. And even George Kittle on his own holiday, 5 for 78. So all the elite tight ends, the top 6 or 7 off the board. I don't know if I mentioned Laporta, who obviously.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. Well, Sam Laporta is 6 for 52. Another solid, 12, 13-point game for the tight end. But Nando, my point is this. All 7 elite tight ends showed up. And as we enter week 8 here, I think we have one more that we can bring into the fold here as a top 10 tight end going forward. I absolutely loved him. I drafted the shit out of him. He's my most owned tight end. But now with the injury to Dawson Knox, I think Dalton Kincaid is about to be a top 6 or 7 weekly tight end going forward here in this Bills offense that desperately needs, another weapon because Gabe Davis dropped another stinker. And I can see Dalton Kincaid being a stud. And I don't want to keep coming on the show every week and declaring a new tight end hero for us because I know last week we talked about Michael Mayer.
Did we?
We did. We talked about Mayer, and I still
you
have
wrote
high
about
hopes
him,
for him.
right?
I did. He was my cover guy, and I still have high hopes for him. I really do. He just happened to have a bad game this week, but that's based on the quarterback. I don't know why you're laughing.
Because I don't know if people realize this. Like when you say he was my cover guy, it's because you demand that I put a picture of this person on your column every week.
Nando, why don't you tell the truth? I send you the article, and then you say, who should I put on the cover?
I don't think they always goes.
Okay.
Yeah, as a joke.
No, that's how it goes. And I have to tell you. Because
I think I know
what you
because you get mad.
What you did for years is I would write an article, I'd send it to you, and then you would write a headline that had nothing to do with my article. And
it had a lot to do. I don't think you
and the poster guy and the poster guy wouldn't even be a picture of somebody that was in it. It was just like, I know what gets clicks. I'm gonna put that as the thing.
You don't realize what you're writing about.
Okay.
Like you're ranking like the top 10 Atlanta Falcons. And so my headline would be ranking the top 10 Atlanta Falcons. You're like, why wouldn't you write? Why would you do that to my headline when all it was at the end of the article and I was ranking the Falcons when really I had a sentence about Kareem Hunt in there and said I liked him and you should put him in the headline.
Yeah. No, what you did is I'd rank the top 10 Falcons and the 10th guy would be like the kicker, Koo, and your headline would be like, Koo, about to be the greatest kicker in fantasy history. That's what you would do.
Because you would write
that's what you would do. No,
because you would write that sentence.
You're getting off the topic. Anyway, Dalton Kincaid, people, he's rostered, obviously, but if you have Kincaid, it's been a shit show for most of the year, and you've been waiting, and you're sitting there looking at your Sam Laportas of the world and going, why can't Dalton Kincaid be this other team, Sam Laporta? I think that's about to happen. So I'm excited starting this week for Dalton Kincaid. And I have a lineup question, an issue that I'm dealing with. A lot of my team, I have 3 teams that I have Dalton, Kincaid, and Evan Ingram as my 2 tight ends. Nando, who would you go with this week?
I wasn't paying attention to the question.
All right, well then move on.
No, I'm just kidding. I guess I would go Evan Ingram.
What'd you do? Just flip a quarter? Like that's
I really don't. I wouldn't be.
That's terrible. That's why I don't ask you questions. That's why I don't ask you questions, Nando.
I put myself in a position where I wouldn't have that choice that I would have to make.
Well, I do.
That seems so unexciting and boring to me. Seems like a typical high stakes problem.
Wow. Trey McBride, Zach Ertz went on IR, Nando, and Trey McBride was a stud in college, and he's seen his snap percentage going up and up the last couple weeks.
Don't you remember this last year? I think we were telling everybody to pick up Trey McBride, and then he bought like that week. He was like 2 for 18, and we never heard from him again
as a rookie. But now he's got another year under his belt, and he's starting to come into his own, and he's going to get all the snaps. He's going to probably play 75-80% of the snaps. You could do a lot worse than picking up Trey McBride. I could see him sneaking in some tight end one. When I say tight end one, I don't want people listening.
Williams
top 12, I mean. That would be a disaster. But
right.
Trey McBride's going to be a popular pickup in Fab this week at the tight end position. And who knows? Maybe we get Kyler Murray back in the next week or two. It's going to be an interesting offense out in Arizona.
Maybe Trey McBride won't. I mean, like, every team is available. Every tight end is available. Maybe Trey McBride won't be such a great big pickup. People seem to say,
I don't know what you just said. Every tight end is available. What does that mean?
Like there are no buys, so like there's no one missing. It's not like
okay.
I don't have my mediocre tight end. I'm gonna go get Trey McBride.
That is, I'll tell you this much. I don't think it'll be
I think he'd have to have a good game. I think he'd have to be like 5 for 62 and a touchdown, and then people go nuts for Trey McBride.
Well, if you're playing competitive leagues and deeper home leagues, you can't wait for things to happen before you bid on them, because then you're gonna have to overspend. Okay, so
what would you drop Evan Ingram for him?
What?
I'm just saying, like, if you have a tight end,
that's your second one, because you're.
Are you gonna pick up Trey McBride and drop Evan Ingram? Or are you going to waste?
I'm not answering that. I'm not answering.
You're going to waste a bench spot on Trey McBride.
Question like that. Evan Ingram is a top 6 tight end.
You just described your team, right?
Trey McBride in listen. I know most home leagues you just carry one tight end, but I'm in leagues, and I hope that most of our listeners are in leagues that you're picking up talent, guys that can help your team. Okay, and if you want to talk Evan Ingram and everything, Evan Ingram's going to be on a bye next week. So for some of my teams that I have Evan Ingram and only Evan Ingram as my tight end, I'm going after Trey McBride aggressively, because I have my eyes on week 9 the following week to plug and play him. So these are things you have to look at. You pick up a Trey McBride because guess what? Travis Kelce's on a bye week in 2 weeks. Okay. Sam Laporte is on a bye next week. George Kittle's on a bye next week. Evan Ingram's on a bye next week. Dallas Goedert in 2 weeks. You got to be planning ahead. You can't wait until Trey McBride goes 5 for 60 and a touchdown this week. And then next week you're like, oh, I have Sam Laporte on a bye week. Let me go to the waiver wire and go get Trey McBride. And I got to pay out of my ass to go get him. So these are things that you got to think about ahead of time, Nando.
That's the answer we were looking for. By the way, Trey McBride not on the rundown.
Tight ends were.
Well, tight holiday weekend. Tight holiday weekend.
Tight holiday weekend. Did you mean Halloween? Did you want to talk about Halloween? You want to talk about how you're the director of the pie contest at your kid's school? Do you want to?
Yeah, it's not a contest.
Talk about that?
No, I don't want to waste time on that. But if anyone would like to order a pie, let me know. You got to pick it up in New Providence, New Jersey, on November 20th.
I just love that story. Nando's
Farm fresh pies.
Nando's the head of the chair for the pie drive at school.
Yeah,
he's pumping out. Who wants it? Hey, do you want this pumpkin pie? Hey, I got it.
I'm spending hundreds of dollars.
This is Nando De Fino.
I'm spending hundreds of dollars on Vistaprint and then Staples to print out 250 business cards.
You're calling parents at night. Hey, this is Mr. De Fino.
I noticed you haven't ordered your pie yet.
I noticed you haven't ordered your pie. Would you like 2 apple and a pumpkin? Thanksgiving's right around the corner,
There's a strawberry rhubarb. I ordered one. I ordered a strawberry rhubarb. We'll see.
Oh man,
That's a hard one to make yourself, you know.
Strawberry rhubarb. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite pie?
Can we please get to Bijan fallout?
Oh
At
my
least that
God! How
one
can we
makes
not
sense.
talk about that disaster? Right?
I don't know. I brought up the Falcons 10 minutes ago when you blew through it to talk about tight ends.
Wait, that was your hint to talk about Bijan? Was the article about the top 10 Falcons?
Yeah. You're welcome.
Oh man, we're going off the rails. Yeah, but
You
anyway,
get
listen.
so-
No,
you get so
real
angry.
quick. Listen, I'm a big Bijan owner, and that was the worst part of my Sunday. Was sitting there going, why is Cordaro Patterson, Nando's guy, getting all these carries and Tyler Algier? So Twitter's blowing up. Everyone's going crazy. We're wondering, where's Bijan? He's getting no snaps, no love. And it turns out now, as we know, this story's been talked about everywhere by everybody already. So I'm just happy that, yes, it sucked to take a 0 from your RB1 in a lot of lineups, as all our listeners know that have Bijan. It sucked. But, you see these situations, you don't know if he got hurt and they were covering up an injury for that day. And then you find out, it was a hamstring. He hurt it in pregame warmup, so we held him out. And it turns into a multi-week thing. Turns out he was sick the night before and into Sunday morning. I wish beat reporters would have did their job and dropped that news in pregame warmups. Maybe some of us would have said, maybe he won't play a lot and pull him.
How would
but
they
it
know?
looks, I don't know. They're around the team. Like,
I don't know.
Was he
Falcons
warming
beat
up?
writers, and they're
was he
fantastic
warming
with their
up? Was
coverage.
he? Yeah, I know. Of course, you want to kiss everyone's ass. Okay,
Well, I don't want to, but I
won't.
know they're both. They're good. They're very good. They're thorough.
Okay, so did they say, hey, Bijan's running around like crazy here in pregame warmups, or he's on the sideline throwing up in a paper bag? Like, what's going on
You want me
here?
to ask him?
Yeah,
it's kind of you know what? I will though.
Good. I mean, listen,
know.
you have beat reporters at your beck and call at the Athletic here. What are we doing? Like, we're not taking advantage. How about being a good friend, Nando, and saying, hey, our Atlanta beat reporter just said Bijan didn't come out of the locker room. It's 12:30 and he's throwing up. Like,
I don't think that was it. I think he was just. I think everything was. Look, first of all, I think
the story was he had
reason.
a migraine. No, it wasn't. Listen, stop creating false narratives. Disciplinary reasons. He came in the game and he ran for 3 yards in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
like Arthur Smith's an idiot.
That sounds like a disciplinary
go in there and give us a carry halfway through.
At the end, quarter. When it's time to win this game, it's not like they were 40-12. Hey, go win this game for us. I'm sorry, I held you out all game because you missed curfew or whatever.
No, yeah.
Let's just tell him. And he pulls him over and he goes, Bijan,
this isn't college.
Let's just tell everyone that you got a headache. So we don't have to tell people that, you're being disciplined.
Well, I'll create the narrative that he
when
had
have you
a
ever seen
migraine headache, which I suffer. Before? I haven't had migraine headaches all my life. Okay. They're really bad. And I'll tell you this much. There's no way you're getting hit by defensive linemen with a migraine. So they probably pumped him with migraine medicine at like 11, 12 o'clock. Took a couple hours to wear off. Probably went to the coaches in the fourth quarter and said, listen, my migraine's gone. My headache's gone. If you need me, I'm in. And maybe they said, all right, go in and get it. But have to assume, and let's be lucky that it's not a multi-week injury type thing. We got screwed in week 7, but here in week 8, we get our, our
we don't know that.
RB1 back.
That's
what I'm going to assume. All right, well, let's see the practice report.
Well, look, put him up against Deshaun Watson, right? So Deshaun Watson got cleared, supposedly, by all reports, from concussion protocol and could have come back in the game. And Stefanski's like, I'm not going to do that to our franchise quarterback.
Right.
I'm not going to risk it. Okay. Arthur Smith was like, all right, this guy's got a headache. I'm not going to play him. Oh, wait, I am going to play him right at the very end. Like, it just seems like
I said, it's, maybe the headache wore off after sitting there for 3 hours.
I don't know, man. Something fishy.
You got a bad headache. You take some Advil, right? And then 2 hours later, it's gone, no?
What if he concussed himself and he was calling it a headache and he passed protocol
and
Smith was like,
we touched on Bijan. We'll never know. We'll never know until this Sunday when they play. And if he gets his 15, 20 carries and he's the bell cow, not bell cow, because Algier, this idiot Arthur Smith still is putting Algier out there in like a
Arthur Smith's a billionaire. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah, Arthur Smith. His dad owns Federal Express. Did you know that?
No. So he's not a billionaire. You mean his dad is
family.
a rich billionaire? Wow.
Which I don't think you should hold that against him. It's not his fault that his dad's
No.
You know?
Hey, listen, we spoke about elite tight ends blowing up this week, but it was a nice week to see elite quarterbacks bounce back too, Nando. It was like it was a nice turnaround from week 6 when it was such a shitty week for quarterbacks and tight ends. But it was nice to see a big bounce back. Lamar Jackson, 44 fantasy points in NFFC. Pat Mahomes finally had his huge game, 46 points. Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen went over 30 fantasy points. And so the elite top 4 quarterbacks off the board in fantasy all finally had monster games together. So they lived up to their fantasy draft position this week.
I think if Josh Fields was healthy, he might have had a good game too. You know,
is Josh Fields Justin Fields' brother?
If Justin Fields was healthy,
okay,
I think he would have had I still got Josh Kendall on my brain. Sorry.
Josh who?
He's our Falcons beat writer.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna see. You know, I think it'd be a good story. Like what happened.
Yeah, I mean, there should be.
Not like what was the why didn't
the NFL
how did this fall through the cracks?
The NFL, called Arthur Smith and the Falcons organization for more information. There's like an investigation going on because when you bring in the factors of gambling nowadays and everything, you needed to report that. And Arthur Smith said he wasn't feeling good on Saturday night.
Right.
So then on Sunday, he should have been questionable. There should have been the report, but nothing. Nothing
from Schefter, nothing from me and Rappaport.
Nothing.
Hey,
Exactly.
When you wake up on Sunday, do you go right to like Schefter's Twitter page and then right to Ian Rappaport's Twitter page to get those?
I think we all wait for the Schefter late Saturday night tidbits. He tweets them out real late Saturday night.
It's like 4 a.m.
No, he doesn't do it 4 a.m. He always does it between like 11 and 1 a.m. I trust me. I know. 11 and 1 a.m.
One's Rappaport, 4 a.m. One of them's 4 a.m.
I don't know. But those are always nice. And, it's like a look ahead for the following day, like who's questionable. And this guy's leaning more towards playing. This one's going to be mostly out. And then that's that. So.
Drop my pen.
I noticed.
This one was doing too much tummy thumping. Anyway, just run around tapping people in the tummy.
What games you looking forward to in week 8, Nando?
Don't care.
Actually, it's late October. You got your pumpkin picking in for Sunday or no?
Yeah, we've had pumpkins for like a month and a half.
Oh my God, you did pumpkin picking in September?
Everywhere I see a pumpkin, I buy it. That's basically how I roll these days.
Nice.
If I'm driving down the street and there's like a church with a pumpkin patch in front of it, we pull over, we grab a couple.
Oh, well, the patches are going to be going crazy here in the New York, New Jersey area this weekend because we're getting 80-degree weather Thursday through Saturday or Sunday, and so we got a little heat wave.
Yeah.
Say that what? We
should have ended the show probably about 5 minutes ago. Oh, for the Giants Jets, were you going to segue into the Giants Jets with that?
No, it's crazy. The Giants Jets, so we get it every 4 years. That game's going to be really low scoring. The total is 36.5. And I already
right now
bet
it's the third lowest. It's the third lowest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if that game doesn't scream 17-13 to me, I don't know what will, because both defenses. And tell you what, the Giants
take that.
Defense,
I think it's going to be like 36-33. I think it's going to go
like the Browns-Colts game this past week that everybody expected. That was another weird one, right? Yeah, I know you didn't. Well, you're so sharp.
Zach Wilson's a winner. Tyrod Taylor has transformed this offense. Wan'Dale Robinson has one of the highest catch percentages in the league. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Now, he actually saw his snap percentage go down to about 60%. Slayton and Jalen Hyatt, who actually is going to be another pretty hot waiver wire ad this week for those deep leagues where he's available. Hyatt ran over 70% of snaps. He's looking like he's starting to emerge as the wide receiver 2. Actually, there is no wide receiver 1, but I'm saying in terms of snap percentage, Slayton keeps running over 80%. He's just doing wind sprints out there, not doing much. He didn't pan out last week. I needed him in a couple spots that I was desperate. He only caught one ball for 22 yards. Saquon Barkley gave us another scare with the shoulder stinger coming off in the first quarter, but he comes in and gets the job done. You know how I feel about Saquon.
I know. Yeah.
Loving him, but he's got a tough matchup this week versus the Jets. But that game's going to be
boy.
ugly. The Giants' defense is stepping up. The last couple of weeks, they've played 2 really good games defensively. They're a sneaky fantasy defense. They gave some good fantasy points this past week. I know because I had to pick them up and use them versus Washington in a couple spots, and they really put on a good day. They put on a really good day.
It's touching.
Yeah,
we should go. We've gone over an hour.
Oh, we could. That's okay. We could go.
No, it's up to you, man. It's your call.
No, it's your show, Nando.
This is total. I call the shots here.
Why don't you tell the people why you got all dressed up for the show today? I mean, I'm wondering why you're in a fancy sweater and a dress shirt and everything like that. I don't know.
Chris, it's because when you signed us up for a podcast, there was a video element that came along with it, and I figured let me put on a nice. Sweater and shirt as opposed to a V-neck that's been stretched all the way down to here.
This is a hoodie.
It looks like you tied a bowling ball to the front of all your t-shirts.
Oof. You're right. We should have left. We should have left 5 minutes ago. Anyway, Nando, enjoy week 8. Glad good. Keep laughing. Anyway. Enjoy week 8, everybody. Enjoy the fact that we don't have any bye weeks, and you can put out your full team this week. And
for Halloween, you tie pumpkins. It's the front.
Pray for
your collars.
This might be the last show we do. I don't know how much more I can put up with you.
Have a good, tight holiday weekend, everybody.
Yes. we love you all.
It's how you spelled holiday too. All right. I'll play the music. I'm sorry. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.